You are now listening to Smoke After Dark.
People indifferent to the matter of this work of sorcery would constitute it as Jewish mysticism, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men that turn from the truth. Titus 1, King James Version of the Bible. The Jewish Kabbalistic tradition upholds a belief that someone who is disciplined and willful enough in the Jewish faith may erect a human-like figure. For this to occur, multiple events have to take place. According to the Jewish legend, someone would need to know the exact sequence of God's 27 letters to erect a human-like figure. After the sequence was placed on a parchment or shim, it could be placed into an insert into the clay mold and bring it to life. The sheet of paper essentially could be placed in a few locations, but usually in the forehead is where it is said to have been set. Rabbi Judah Loew, also known as Maharal, was said to have been a man who could bring forth a golem. For 10 years, under the reign of King Rudolph II, the golem he created protected Prague. The idea behind creating a golem was to protect the Jewish community from pogroms, which are executions of a religious group, in this case, Jews. This golem would also follow directions or orders to complete household tasks when not busy protecting the townspeople. The golem had a name and was called Golem Yosef, or Yosal the Mute. The household chores were suspected to upset Golem Yosef. The golem wanted to protect the town and have a bigger role than just a house servant. This longing for a purpose would cause a few incidents to occur that would dampen the golem's reputation. Before you get up in arms, remember this original story of the golem is a collection of various inspired second-hand accounts. We must keep everything in context where it belongs. My statements are meant to be contextual, and my videos are designed to be punctual. The first accident occurred when Rabbi Loew left the golem unsupervised, forgetting to remove the shim as he rushed to help his daughter, who was ill. The golem was caught causing havoc. Rabbi Loew tracked down Golem Yosef and removed the parchment paper, stopping any serious injuries from occurring. The next accident was said to have put Golem Yosef into partial retirement. A Christian girl from Prague went missing. Golem Yosef was accused of kidnapping her. Golem Yosef returned the girl to prove he did nothing wrong. People began to question what would happen if that was their daughter or them. In reality, Golem Yosef may have done what he was accused of by being tricked into committing those atrocities. We know for a fact not everyone was in favor of the creation of a golem or any type of Jewish mysticism happening in Prague. Rabbi Loew hid Golem Yosef in the attic of the old synagogue. Rumor has it he is waiting until he needs to be utilized again. Rabbi Judah Loew ben Bezalel sadly passed away in 1609. and is buried nearby in the old Jewish cemetery of Prague, in the Jewish Corner. The story of the Golem of Prague, or Golem Yosef, began appearing after he passed on. It wouldn't be until 1837 before there was an actual legend printed about the golem by a German poet named Berthold Auerbach. A convoluted version of the golem story was discovered in 1909, written by R. Yitzchak ben Shimsho ha-Kohen Katz. He was said to have been with Rabbi Low during the creation of the golem. However, the story was spotted by biblical historians to be filled with inaccuracies and varied greatly from the Golem of Yosef. But there's a few important facts not to overlook. A lot of people wanted to be associated with the legend of the Golem of Prague. The tale was popular, but powerful enough to make people want to write about it. The creation of the golem is one of the most interesting parts, also one of the most meticulous parts. Rabbi Low not only needed the knowledge to pull this off, he was said to have needed 2 helpers, plus the materials needed to craft the golem. In the woods outside of Prague, near the Vltava River, he then made a body out of the clay. He instructed 1 helper to walk around the clay mold 7 times, and the body turned into iron and heated up to the maximum. Rabbi Low instructed the 2nd helper to walk around the clay mold 7 times, but this time counterclockwise, and cooled the iron down so it hardened and thickened. Then Rabbi Low himself walked around the golem 7 times and placed the shem inside the golem. Some stories have this particular shem as an amulet on his forehead and a scroll in his mouth. Nevertheless, the golem was said to have been constructed. There is also a rumor that said it needs to be raining when this is done. Rumor also has it that after time passed, another rabbi in the 18th century by the name of Rabbi Loudon ventured into the attic even after Rabbi Low forbade it. He fled and was petrified of what he saw, rendering him unable to speak of the details. Other people who went into the attic found nothing, but stories were eventually published, and even a German silent film came out of it. What makes the Golem of Prague so different was this was the golem that has the most lore around it, but in reality, there's just more information available about it. The Jewish fable of the golem is a widely more popular fable than one would first believe. Even Pokemon came up with a golem creature. In the Jewish faith, they believe the story of Adam and Eve is actually talking about golems and that God was testing them in the garden. Although I don't share that belief, it's an interesting concept. I believe Adam and Eve are as real as you or me. As believers in Christ, we must be careful of interpreting the Bible differently from the actual word itself. The Jewish people have been persecuted for years on end. Contrary to what some people may believe, Jews do not want to be looked at as a victim. Instead, those of the Jewish faith look to be vilified by becoming who they truly are as a people. That sentiment they share is commendable and respectful. We must tread carefully when examining Israel and the Palestinian war nowadays as an example of complete Jewish ideology. The reason I say all of this is to show that one voice is just as important as 100 voices. There were they in great fear, for God is in the generation of the righteous. God bless. Thank you for listening to Smoke After Dark.